It's the worst oil spill in history.
On day 45 of the disaster, we're beginning to see the shocking images of how the oil is severely affecting wildlife in the Gulf of Mexico. A warning, some of these images we're about to show you are pretty graphic. Take a look. This pelican found near Grand Isle. Its lifeless body lay still, covered in thick oil, one of several animals affected by the spill. The Louisiana Department of Wildlife and Fisheries says another 14 other oiled birds have been discovered. Both seagulls and sanderlings were found immersed in crude. All have been taken to a rescue station in Fort Jackson to be cared for. Meanwhile, in Washington tonight, some critics are suggesting the president hasn't done enough about the spill.
I think we're going to be judged, and the president will be judged on our response and our recovery efforts to what we all know now is the worst environmental disaster in our nation's history. But pounding on a podium isn't going to fix a hole in the ocean. I think what the American people and the citizens of the Gulf are expecting are results, and I think that's what the president will be measured by.
BP is still working on placing a cap on the well. Crews have sliced off a pipe on the leak, but say the cut was jagged. Now that means the cap won't fit as snugly as officials had hoped, and oil will continue to leak. Tonight, we're also learning where on the U.S. coast the oil spill will reach and when it will get there. Those projections being made right here in Colorado. In tonight's Local Angle, Fox 31's John Romero is here to show us how disastrous this oil spill will be. John?
This computer model was put together by scientists at the National Center for Atmospheric Research. Seriously smart people. You can see the oil kind of milling around the Gulf there, and then all of a sudden it hits what's called a loop current, and it shoots up the eastern seaboard almost all the way past North Carolina. They ran this test 6 times in 6 different scenarios. The oil slick made it to the Atlantic all 6 times. Horrifying pictures from the Gulf.
It slowly mixes for the first month or 2.
And one that may be even scarier coming from Boulder, where the only thing more dangerous than floating oil
So as soon as it hits the loop current, whoosh, it's out of there.
is an oil slick on the move.
The oil seems very likely to still get out into the Atlantic on a short time frame, less than 6 months.
It is a nightmare scenario that occurred in all 6 scenarios run by supercomputers at the National Center for Atmospheric Research. The slick, now more than 1 month old, riding the loop current out of the Gulf and into the Atlantic Ocean, feeding into the Gulf Stream current moving up to 100 miles a day.
The Gulf Stream in the Atlantic is one of the fastest currents in the world.
It is a scenario, they say, not a forecast, but still a shock.
We couldn't find a scenario where we could keep it in the Gulf.
The oil slick would dilute as it moves, but Florida, South Carolina, and North Carolina beaches in the oil's path. Will it wash ashore? It depends day to day, based on waves and wind.
This thing might get out there next week. It might get out there in 6 months.
But the probability is that the troubling pictures from the Gulf may be coming soon to another American coast. There were a lot of factors these computer models did not take into account, like the chemical properties of oil and any underwater oil plumes. Again, these are not actual forecasts, they're more scenarios, but 6 out of 6 got to the Atlantic Ocean, and that's got to be a cause for concern.
And every one of those scenarios is scary. Okay, so right now they're on attempt number 4 of capping this thing, and we don't know if that's working. We're going to have to wait another, what, 12 hours to see if that's working?
We're just not going to know for a little while. And the scary part is, even if they do cap it, the oil slick's still there, and it could still be washing ashore on the Outer Banks, Charleston, South Carolina, anywhere up there later this summer.
This whole thing is really incredible.
And that's tragedy.
John, thanks.